Hello and welcome to our third attempt at recording the Mega Monster podcast. My name. All right, Josh, I'm hoping you're doing that on
I'm
purpose.
fucking with you
Yep,
this
yep,
time.
yep. All right, welcome to the Mega Monster cast. My name is Nick. With me is Josh. Say hello, Josh.
I
That was our third attempt at starting this podcast after freezing the first two times. So solid one on Josh's part for pulling that on me.
yeah.
All right. So today we are covering episodes 9 and 10 of Ultraman Blazar. We are covering uh, Planet of Music and Parent and Child. So before we get started on that, any housekeeping we want to do heading into this episode? I think I'm pretty set on just hopping in, but if there's anything you want to bring up, go for it.
No,
All right.
I'm pretty good right now.
All right, fair enough. So, let's start with Planet of Music. I was talking with Josh before this. This week we got hit with a double dose of like some really emotional episodes, which I appreciate a lot. Like
It, yeah,
big feels, big feels.
yeah. It's kind of nice from going from all fun and games, kind of like we had in the show era stuff, to like this gut wrenching, like powerful movement of an episode.
Mhm. All right. So, let's hit on this to start with. So we have an Henri focused episode this week, which is kind of nice. I enjoyed that. I really like that Blazar does a good job of really building up the uh, the Defense Force team. I know some shows that's more of an afterthought, but it's nice that like so many of the episodes in this first like 10 episodes are dedicated to really setting up who the team are, not just who Gento is.
Yeah, it's nice actually having something character focused.
So, we start with Henri out for a jog. When she gets back home, she checks her mail and she sees that she's received um, a letter from someone that she knows along with concert tickets. And we get this flashback to her when she was still in training for Scarred, and she meets this quartet of musicians who are playing outdoors and strikes up a conversation with them. And we get like kind of a backstory on that she grew up in this household where her dad was like a really big music person, but she didn't really care as much. But, as she grew older, she grew to appreciate music more and more, and it became a bigger part of her life. And we get what I referred to as one of the most Japanese moments in this show, where Henri asks permission to come watch them perform again sometime.
It's definitely God. That was the stupidest ass moment.
Oh yeah, but it's so in character with like Japanese values of like asking permission to appreciate something. Like clearly they want people to listen to them. That's why they're playing outdoors, but she still feels like she needs to ask permission to watch and listen to them and appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah, it's also just like a sign of respect to him.
Hmm. And then we get
And just this one moment is all what's his name? Tsukushi?
hmm I think so.
Like it's all he needs to just like I want to send you a letter like 10 years down the line.
Yep. Well, so the impression I got on that is since they were like playing in public, I would guess like that was just the first time she saw them and that she listened to them a lot when they were still playing publicly. Like I think that was like
Okay.
our
That
setup.
makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that was our setup. I think like she probably listened to them all the time when they were still just playing outdoors. And that was like the start of the relationship with them. Otherwise, it's just a very alien concept of, oh, and I listened to them once and that started a bond that somehow lasted forever.
I mean, it's ironic you said alien concept because later on we're gonna find out why.
Yep, yep. So
It could 100% just be an alien concept.
yep, yep. So then we get our first bit with the rest of the Scarred team, and we find out that after the two-parter that we covered, um, Earth Garon his was obviously like pretty badly damaged, and they're trying to put a rush job on repairing it. And this is to the chagrin of a lot of people. It seems like they are aware that you can't really necessarily put a rush job on trying to fix Earth Garon, but that's what they kind of have to do. So we get that. Well, it's not really the smartest thing to do, but we still have to do it this way. And then we get Gento Blue Eyes, which
Oh,
is this our first time that Gento does that with
yes.
the Blazar eye?
Yeah, because I guess Blazar like takes over his body
Hmm.
and just starts drinking. What was it? Vegetable water or tea or
Yeah,
vegetable juice?
yeah, it
That's
was
what it was.
vegetable juice, yeah. And it's supposed to be like a sleep remedy of some kind. So we also get Gento going into the inner space that where he and Blazar can kind of communicate with each other, and he tries to set up
Yeah, where he's a.
like Blazar is
Oh,
that
go ahead.
a constellation basically,
Yeah,
and he tries to set up that
and just
that style of communication
I
they're
think
gonna
we're
have.
saying the same
Yep, yep, the whole flashing light thing.
thing.
Yep. So perfect. We're gonna take a quick pause on this. Josh, can you hear me? Love it. All right, so roughly 7 minutes, 30 seconds in. Oh, this time it's me. Cool. Well, while we wait. Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Yep, this time it was me.
Okay. I
Let's
wonder
wait
if I wonder if Discord's messing up or something.
Nah, nah, it was my Wi-Fi. It's also been having problems lately. I don't think it's the Wi-Fi itself. I think it's just this motherboard's like on its last legs. I've been shopping around to get a new one because it's just not doing well anymore. Like it's kind of been on its last legs for like over half a year, and I've just been trying to put it off as long as possible. Also, one second. I'm gonna try to get video working for me. So one second. I've been thinking about you, me, the birds and the bees, yeah. I'm going. All right. Yeah, yeah, I noticed
Fourth
that.
time's the charm.
Yeah. I mean, we're just gonna keep rolling. I'll try to edit this together into something that resembles an episode. Uh, so we were talking about Gento and the inner space, and that
Uh-oh.
they were communicating through the claps, right?
Oh, what is going on? Oh God. Um,
All right, how bad is it?
what the hell is this connection right now?
I mean, I can
Uh, you're
see and
back.
hear you
You were doing
fine.
exactly what I was doing, where you're just
Okay.
like that.
Okay. I mean, I can see and hear
You're
you just fine right
perfect
now.
now.
Cool. So, we were talking about that Blazar was was communicating with Gento through the whole like claps and flashes thing, and this is their first attempt at
Yes.
like actively communicating with each other.
And we still don't know Blazar's actual name. It's,
I mean,
I like how Ginto literally apologizes, like, I don't know what to call you, so I just call you Blazar.
yep, yep. So after that, we get like a little communication with them, and then Gento is jerked back to reality by the Blazar crystal, the thing that he inserts into like the transformation device, starting to burn red hot and jerking him back to reality.
He has third-degree burns. Let's not.
Oh yeah,
There's no way he doesn't.
oh yeah, absolutely. There's no chance in hell he doesn't. So then we get a little glimpse of the quartet preparing to play music, immediately followed by a meteor coming to Earth. And this is where
Perfect.
the big conflict of the episode comes in because it sets up immediately, hey, whatever is going on with this quartet is going to affect what's happening with this meteor.
And God, do we have a monster, all right. We have a kaiju.
Yep. We have a very, very old school kaiju. So we are introduced to Garamon. Well, okay, so first, um, the quartet talks about how they're going to be playing their last concert, which is followed by Garamon coming out of, or maybe even coming out of the meteor, which is a direct callback to like one of the first times Garamon is used in the franchise back in like Ultra Q, episode 16, I want to say.
I have it here. 13 and 16.
Yeah, I think I watched a little bit of 16 in prep for this, and there's some callbacks to that episode specifically. Like the meteor looks really similar in 16 to this one, and there's like a couple of other visual and audio callbacks. I think like some of the songs that are going to play throughout this episode sounded pretty similar to that episode. Um,
Huh.
yeah. I will also say, as much as I appreciate using old kaiju, Garamon and Pigmon look too similar. Those are two very old school kaiju. They look very similar to the point of, um, at some
It's
point,
just a recolor.
at some point, the original Garamon suit was in bad shape. So they just took the Garamon head and slapped it on a Pigmon body.
Are you fucking
Yep,
serious?
it's just that. Because the original Garamon had like a little more going on in the front, and with this one, it's like a little more Pigmon-y of the body and Garamon head, which even then, like their heads are really similar too. Garamon's is just a little more stretched out vertically, and Pigmon's is a little more stretched out horizontally.
Uh,
Yeah, they're like obscenely similar.
I I didn't realize this was a robot.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think depending on the series, it's a robot or it's an actual kaiju. But in this case, it's a robot, and I'm not 100% certain, but it might have been a robot in that old Ultra Q episode. Again, I was just kind of skipping through to see if there were similarities. Um, but yeah, so then we get like a lot of really solid musical cues going into this fight, which
Oh,
I appreciated.
yes. Honestly, there's more like orchestral music going on than there is actual dialogue.
For the most part, yeah, I'd make the argument for that. I mean, we do get a lot of dialogue, especially in like a little bit, but
Yeah,
this part is really heavily focused on just letting the music play as the fight goes on.
and it definitely works.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's I mean, if you have an episode dedicated to music, letting the music speak for itself is honestly the way to go.
Yeah, like it should have done on a certain other show I'm watching.
Okay.
It didn't do that right.
So then, as Earth Garon is fighting, um, Henri thinks that she knows what's going on because they find out that the robot, the Garamon robot, seems to be responding to some sort of um, like harmonic instruction, which ties into the idea that of the music that's playing and the quartet that's playing. So Henri immediately makes this intuitive jump of, okay, the last concert that they were going to play is today. I cannot think of any reason why these two wouldn't be connected. So she just goes for it. She says she thinks she knows what's going on and just bolts to go to the performance hall.
Also that's a hell of a jump.
Oh yeah. I mean, it turns out to be true, so like props to her, but yeah, it was one of those
Oh yeah,
one of those like, hey, you could have easily been wrong. Maybe it was like a concert being played in like the next town over or something. Or maybe it was just somebody talking. But no, like, obviously you got to tie those things in. So she goes and goes to the music hall as Earth Garon is fighting Garamon, um, which results in Earth Garon being damaged again and Yasunobu being knocked out. Now, we've had a lot of Earth Garon jobbing, and I think this is the
Mm-hmm.
first time I have a genuine, like, I think there's an excuse for it in this episode because they set up that point early on of they are doing a rush repair job for Earth Garon. They are trying to put it back into function as quickly as possible. And
And it
that's
was not
my,
up to.
yep, that's my excuse is that it's just not fully repaired yet. So we're not going to get that like maximum performance out of it just because you can't with what it has in terms of repairs. At least that's my head canon is that's why they brought up that they were repairing it so quickly is because I think by this point they even realized that Earth Garon was taking too many losses.
And still rightfully so.
Hmm. So they needed to give like some excuse for why it was going to lose again this episode. But this ends up with Yasunobu being knocked out and Gento turns into Blazar to fight Garamon. Which immediately after he turns into Blazar, we get Henri showing up at the music hall to confront the quartet, which is where I
And
feel like all of the heart of this episode takes place.
it absolutely does. And we get the big reveal that they're aliens.
Yep,
Weird insectoid looking aliens.
yep. Which
Were
go
I was
for it.
gonna say, were those from a previous show or
Those are from that episode that I mentioned. Like,
okay, so it is from Q and
yeah, yeah. Those
okay.
are yeah. They were the ones in charge of Garamon back then too. So this is like a hard callback to that series in those episodes that Garamon was introduced in. And again, this episode is like so much of a callback to a show that took place like almost 60 years before this episode.
Shit.
Yeah, yeah, I think these episodes would have aired in like 1964. And this episode,
1966.
66. Okay. I thought it was a 64 for some reason. But yeah. Uh
You're damn close.
yeah, yeah. So then we get that callback, like a lot of visual callbacks too. There's going to be a lot of like elements to it where we're going to get like nods to that. And obviously, I still think that some of the music was from those episodes too. But we kind of get the backstory for what's going on with this. Did you want to cover what they were doing? Because they give us a good
Oh,
flashback.
yeah, because the flashback basically just goes back and starts saying how these what is it, 4
Hmm.
aliens
Yep.
have landed on Earth as they're trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Harvest the Earth, basically.
Yep.
Um, and they set everything up. They put in the device to summon Gormon, but unfortunately for them, they find music and are so intrigued by it that they try to self teach themselves and do a damn good job apparently um, to create like their own semi pro band.
Hmm.
and it's their love for music, which is a good portion of the conflict of when we go back to modern day. And like the whole reason why Tasuki, guy, I am
Yep.
butchering these names.
Uh,
Takushi actually sends Henri that letter. It's they found so much love that they actually, if it wasn't for the fact that they are doing this for their own planet, I don't think they would have done it.
mhm.
They would never have summoned him,
Oh yeah,
and they're
absolutely
trying to find a reason not to.
not. So that also brings up, before we move into that a little more, I do want to mention, so the flashback that we're given of them first coming to Earth also shows that the music they're listening to, that they're first exposed to, is being played on a phonograph. So they have been here for a long
Oh, good
time.
point.
So I feel like that was like a good nod to just how long they've been on Earth and how long this operation that they're doing has been running for. Yeah, so then
Um,
obviously when we get back to the present, the fight continues between Garamon and Blazar, and we get three of the four members of the quartet rushing to try to stop Henri as the fourth, the leader, who I'm not even going to try to say his name, um,
yeah.
who is their cellist, continues to play and try to control Garamon, and does a really good job of being able to control him on his own. Like even starts using like sound-based attacks from Garamon to fight Blazar, which do a lot of damage to him.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like the idea of using like an a sound wave based attack on against an ultra. I don't know how often that's been done. I'm sure it's been done a few times in the past, but like it hasn't been done enough that it's not like refreshing.
Probably
So,
more of it on the lines of just like a yell attack.
yep. And then we get Henri claiming that uh, she thinks that they got in touch with her so that they could be stopped by her, and she takes aim and fires on the cellist in order to try to stop him from controlling Garamon.
Which they do a real nice like cut when she does that,
Oh yeah, that was such a
where
good
you think
edit.
she just puts him down,
Yep. Yeah, no, that was a
and
great
then we
cut.
see and we see Goromon on top of Ultraman just like freeze, and then just green ooze pour out of his mouth and into right into Ultraman's mouth,
Yep. Which
and he has the most disgusted look.
yep. That's also a really solid visual callback to episode 16 of Ultra Q. It might have been in 13 too, but again, I only watched 16, a little bit of it in prep for this, and like that is a direct thing that happens in that episode. Like you see the green ooze coming out of the Garamons in that, which there's actually more than one in that episode, which was kind of cool. But yeah, so
Hmm.
like a really solid visual callback to that episode, and then we get the reveal that like she shot him. He's not dead. He's injured though. His hand's turned back to his alien hand, and he's like clearly bleeding green blood out of it. Then we get that really like again heart wrenching moment where he talks about that like every species basically makes sound, that he hasn't, like every species in the universe makes sound, but humans are the first ones that he had ever come across that make music and make sound for the sake of enjoying it, not just to make sound. And then the
Yeah.
curtain
And then
falls.
yeah, right before though, he finally tells the rest of his crew to go out and live how they want to live.
Hmm. Yeah. This episode was so good. I really, really enjoyed what they did with it.
Yeah, so did I.
Like like the two-parter that we just had was fantastic in terms of like storytelling and like action. This had so many really good emotional beats to it, and giving all these like really solid emotional beats to an Henri focused episode was like huge. Like I don't know if a whole lot of other series would have given such a big emotional episode to like a supporting cast member this way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't. I can't think of a show that would actually do that. That's not just a comedy.
Hmm. But again, that's goes with like what we've been saying about just how good this show is at developing the supporting cast, not just Gento and Blazar, but like all of Scarred. And as we'll get in the next episode, like Gento's family also gets a lot of development.
Also,
All right, well, I'm gonna mark where that happened.
oh, there he is.
Yes and no. I'm gonna have to disconnect for a second just so I can get my video working. All right, 1 sec. There we go. And I've been marking what times that it disconnects, so should be good on that.
Okay,
Cool.
I see you.
All right, cool. Yeah, I've been marking everything to make sure that I know about where problems start popping up, so I can try editing around those.
Oh, it's been a good day.
Yep. I'm definitely gonna have to put a rush job on trying to replace that motherboard now.
So your motherboard is just going trash.
I mean, it's been not doing great for a while.
Oh shit.
Like, it's not terrible, but like I knew it was getting to its last legs. So I've been like shopping around looking for motherboards and if I'm gonna do motherboard, I'm gonna also replace the CPU and the RAM and just hit them all three at once.
Yeah, I got to replace a hard drive in mine. It's starting to go, even though it's only like 2 years old.
Hmm. See, I feel like my hard drives are like fine. Like I've got two like like I've got three fairly decent hard drives. It's just like everything else is reaching the end of its lifespan.
Shit.
I mean, it happens. Anyway, we're back. Let's talk about episode 10, Parent and Child. So,
Oh my god. I just want to say, I fucking love the kaiju design.
oh yeah, no, Demaga is really solid. I've talked about this a little bit. So Demaga comes from Ultraman X, which is very good, but I feel like people have kind of slept on it in recent years because um, it was immediately followed by a series that was like way more popular than it. Because X was great, but Orb was immediately after that, and it had one of the best villains in the Ultra franchise. So people kind of forget about X because it's so overshadowed. But what came immediately
It,
after?
that's a shame because I've got like screenshots of Demaga right now, and whatever the hell this mecha Demaga looking thing
Hmm.
is disgusting.
Oh yeah, no, every Demaga design that they've done has been gold. Like Demaga is so there's two kaiju from Ultraman X I think are like truly great. Well, that aren't just variants of things that existed before it. Demaga, every version of Demaga looks good. And then
Oh,
Griza, which was the final kaiju at the end of X, is also like a top tier design. Anyway, though, if I could talk about X tons, and maybe we will at some point. But
hell yes.
let's talk about the start for this episode. So this episode starts with Gento watching the news and doing the Blazar eye thing, which the Blazar eye always happens in his left eye, which is like where the bigger crystal thing is on Blazar's head,
Hmm.
and we're gonna get a little something I think is sort of related to that later in the episode. But he's watching the news, or Blazar is watching the news more accurately.
And he is just making a mess with those dishes.
Yep. Gento's wife gets pretty upset at him because he's just standing there like scrubbing a dish and pouring soap water onto the floor.
And this actually threw me because I know I mentioned it before before the last crash, and I don't
Mhm.
know if you answered it or not. Did Gento mention his family before? Because like I came into this like completely blindsided. Like I didn't know he had a wife and kid.
I don't I don't know for sure. If he did, it was just in passing. But this is the first time we get
Okay,
like actual elements of his family life, which is I think this might be the first time we get an Ultra host who at the start of their series is a parent. Like
hmm.
I think that was like a big like Blazar did a couple of things I consider to be groundbreaking. I think that is one of them. That and having like the captain be the ultra host. Like it did a couple of really big groundbreaking things.
Interesting.
Hmm. But we get Gento's son June is watching like footage of Blazar as the news is playing in the background, and the news reveals that a kaiju egg has been found, and that kaiju egg
I don't.
is go for it.
Oh, I was gonna say June. I I don't know how I completely feel about his character, at least in the dubbed version. Um, you've I mean I know you've watched Gamera in the past,
Hmm.
and there's always the Kenny.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. I could see
June
that.
felt so Kenny to me.
Yeah, yeah. By the end, I feel like by the last episode, I I warmed up to him,
Yeah,
but this is it's not a terrible introduction for him. I'd actually make the argument it's about the best we could have asked for, but again, this is like breaking new ground for the franchise having a main character's child. So we're gonna kind of like there's some growing pains for his character.
give you that.
Anyway, so we get the kaiju egg, which is a Damaga egg, and Gento's family has gone to see the kaiju egg in person, which I feel like is kind of a weird choice for his character. Like
Yeah,
it's not bad, it's just a
but
little bit odd.
I also I guess somewhat understand since we find out in this episode he's also lying to his family about what he does.
Hmm.
So I guess he's just trying to throw in a little bit of a we're tourist type of thing.
Hmm. Which is nice. I do like that they set up um, that his family doesn't. They know that he works for the GGF, but they don't know what he's doing. They think he works for the engineering division, not for Scarred. So they think he's an engineer, not the head of like their special task force unit.
And honestly, he does a good job disguising that here too.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so they get so Scarred gets the call from the commander of the GGF saying that they need to get ready to do like to basically carpet bomb this thing. Well, no.
Oh my
So
god, like
we're getting ahead of ourselves. Uh, egg hatches, Damaga comes out. Baby Damaga calls for its mother, and that's what they're getting ready to carpet bomb. The adult Damaga.
and god, they just give us another reason to hate the fucking chief.
Yep. So um, they are told that they need to scramble Earth Garon and get ready to try to wipe this thing out ahead of time. Like before it causes any damage, get in there, take care of it. We're gonna bomb the shit out of it and just hope for the best. And
But
they try to snare the baby Damaga at the same time.
which this also threw me in the loop because like after watching like the Shin series and like especially Shin Godzilla, and we get like a good like up close look of like how the Japanese government would react in situations like this.
Hmm.
Just going from that, like we got to be cautious about it, even if the monster's in the city. We got to make sure everyone's safe. The chief of staff that zero gives zero fucks here.
Oh yeah, no, he's 100% just like he's a war hawk basically, and that
Ugh.
comes with a lot of issues, which get expanded on more over the course of the series.
Okay.
So, when like the bombing run happens, we see that Damaga isn't really offensive. It's completely defensive and it's just trying to protect its baby, which is where the crux of the emotional beats come from this episode. That Damaga is not aggressive in any sort of way. Well, this Damaga isn't. It's just trying to protect its child, which kind of resonates with Gento and his family because now we have an Ultra host that also has a child.
Yeah. And at first he's more like, well, we got to fight it. We got to. And it's his son June that actually talks reason to him,
Hmm.
which is also odd because it's a Kenny.
Yep. Um, during the fight between Earth Garon and Damaga, again, I mentioned this. Um, looks so good. Like having Damaga and Earth Garon fight is such a good fight.
Yes.
Like, God, those suits fighting just so good. They work so well against each other.
I don't. It's just that like I hate to compare it to Godzilla, but like it's
Mm.
just that old like Godzilla design, like dinosaur esque that just works well with it when it comes to fighting each other.
Oh yeah, like it really gives Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla vibes, which never gonna be a bad thing.
Nope.
And then
Unless it's that
the
cheap
legendary.
knockoff version of. Yep.
So
Soon.
yeah,
We'll talk
eventually.
about
Yep,
that soon.
yep. Uh, so Blazar realizes what's going on and forces like the transformation device to pop up on Gento, like around his family. So he's with his family and suddenly it's there on his arm because Blazar wants to be involved in this. And then we get like a decent ish like we get a reason for why Gento disappears, which is like he's getting his family away from Damaga, and then he says that he needs to go back and check for stragglers to make sure that like there aren't any people who were left behind that could be hurt. And, and his claim is even if he's just a member of the engineering department, he's still a member of the GGF, and he still needs to make sure everyone else is safe, even at the risk of his own life,
Yep.
which pisses his wife off.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yep, yep. Like rightfully
Which
so.
there was definitely a fight like after this episode
Oh yeah, 100%.
when they got home.
Yep. So then Blazar so Gento turns into Blazar and starts fighting Damaga. And
Get some conflict.
oh yeah, cuz like when they're fighting, Blazar completely prepares to kill Damaga, like brings out the spiral Burade and is ready to kill him, and then starts attacking himself, which I think is so we've had a bunch of instances where Blazar takes over Gento for one reason or another. I think this is the first time Gento starts taking over Blazar.
Yeah.
That this is
Would have been
Gento's.
nice to just see Gento's eye up here.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, this is the first time we get Gento is also able to influence Blazar. That just like Blazar has started to have some control over Gento, like the lines are blurred over like who's in charge of Gento's body. Now we're seeing that it's a two-way street, and Gento can influence Blazar just as much as Blazar influences him. And this sets up a really kind of a cool scene where Blazar. Well, okay, so before that, we get a cool scene where Blazar freezes Damaga. Because I wanted to mention that. Uses
Yeah.
this the Rainbow Slash to like changes it to like a bluer one, and then like fires some sort of like frost attack at it before he goes for the stab, and then grapples with itself. Blazar grapples with himself, and then uh, the next bombing strike is coming in, and Blazar releases a bunch of energy from his head and does like this big sonic shriek to destroy the bombs.
The one where his mouthpiece just starts glowing.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Uh, I This is the first time we've seen Blazar do something like this, and a part of me wonders if Blazar. So like, I'm not saying Blazar got it from Garamon, but maybe Blazar realized he could do that himself by fighting Garamon. Like it's not like the Rainbow Slash where he needs to use the crystal in order to make it work. But the fact that we just had him fight an enemy that uses sonic attacks, and the next episode he uses a sonic attack himself. Like I feel like there's something
Yeah,
there.
because I mean, when he was being bled on and he like touched it, I mean, instead of the sound base, then he just had two like tiny destructo discs,
Hmm.
which uh, for that episode I didn't feel it made sense that that was the power he got. So it doing this makes way more sense and like for a headcanon now.
Yeah. And then Blazar again summons the Spiral Beerade, but instead of using it to attack, um, unweaves it into this like these glowing yellow light tendrils that start to wrap themselves around Damaga and baby Damaga.
They can coon him,
Yep, and then send it into the ground.
which pisses off the chief of staff again.
Oh yeah.
And now we have a whole new conflict with Blazar and the GGF.
Hmm. Now
Because
it's not.
now the chief is definitely considering him as a threat.
Yeah, because this is the first time. Well, this is like Blazar. From an outside perspective, this makes sense. Like Blazar in this episode outwardly seems to have a complete mental breakdown in the middle of the fight against Damaga before wrapping Damaga in a protective energy cocoon and sending it into the ground. Like this, from the outside, would be one of the most terrifying things you could imagine. Oh, hey, this giant who continues to beat all the monsters our robot can't. Um, yeah, it just tried to beat itself up for like 30 seconds and then saved the monster.
Which honestly, they also point that out. They're like, it's like he was being controlled by someone.
Yep.
So they're somewhat like self-aware of it.
Again, I feel like a few of them at this point, I'm pretty sure know that Gento is Blazar. Like, I would
There's no
put
way
money
they
on it.
can't.
I'm not saying all of them do, but a few of them definitely have to at this point. So anyway, then the episode ends with Gento going back to his family. His wife's upset at him, and his son is talking about how awesome he thinks Blazar is.
Yeah. He's
And
like,
then they,
oh, I am my son's hero,
yep,
even though he doesn't know it.
yep. And then they go get food. I think. I think that's how it ends.
Yep, because
Yep.
they're all hungry, and where we get the moment we get home, we're having a discussion.
Oh yeah. And then yep. So that's how the episode ends. So what do you think the high points and low points are for these episodes?
Um, Honestly, the low point for me on the first episode is just the kaiju design. Goromon is so. When I saw it, all I could think of was like a sentient mushroom.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it, I literally have fried up a morel that looks just like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I tentatively agree with that. I think that like I like that the Ultra franchise likes to reuse suits. I like that there's that element of something that you saw 60 years ago could pop up and still be relevant today.
Hmm.
I do think that Garamon and Pigmon, like I I have some issues with the way they're designed, especially like the fact that Garamon, the suit was in such bad condition, they just replaced it with Pigmon and it didn't change much. Like I think that those designs were like lazy even back then. Um, but is what it is. High point for episode 9.
Oh, it's the music. It's 100% the music for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like,
It's solid.
yeah, it's just like it's like the way you said. Like it's the way it makes you feel through the whole thing. It's a not detriment. Um, God, I can't think of the word. It's how it really impacts you during the
Hmm.
fights. And then for this episode, yeah, it's probably June for me. But I mean, child actor in a kaiju film or kaiju show usually aren't the best,
Hmm.
especially if you know anything with Gamera.
Yeah.
And then high point though, honestly, it's the conflict between Gento and Ultraman for me.
Oh yeah. Yep.
What about you?
I'd say the high point, well, the low point for me again probably Garamon. Like I like again them using old kaiju designs, but I feel like some of them need to be retired, or if not retired, like used very sparingly. Like I appreciate that this is a huge callback. Well, episode 9 is a huge callback episode, but it's still really rough looking. High point for me, oh gosh, when Henri gets to the music hall, I think like everything, like all of her interactions with the quartet after she gets there are just amazing. Like the emotional beats are perfectly done. The actress does a fantastic job of like really emoting and showing just how like devastating this is for her, but also
Mhm.
like showing that she thinks that they want her there so they don't have to destroy the Earth. Um, Low point for episode 10. I mean, yeah, the son's involvement is weak. Again, he's a young actor. I agree that that's weak.
Yeah, but and also with like young actors like that, you got to give them some
Mhm.
leeway.
Yeah,
Like you, everyone starts off somewhere.
yeah, and then I don't know if there's anything else. I would say it's a low point for the episode. High point, obviously like the interactions between Gento and Blazar and how they're influencing each other is really good. I'd also make the argument like really showing that not all kaiju are like dangerous for the world. Like this Damaga at least has nothing that it's trying to like. It's not trying to cause damage. It's not threatening a city or anything. It's just going to its child, and the second it gets there, it doesn't cause any real damage. It's just defending its child. I don't like in the first bombing, it doesn't attack, doesn't do anything dangerous. It just curls over its child to protect it from the bombs. And I think that's like a really powerful moment for this series.
I yeah, I 100% agree on that. I also kind of felt like that on the last specials with Nijikachi.
Hmm.
Like it's supposed to be a benevolent like creature, but like do we know if that's what its true form looks like? Because it was so negatively influenced by the professor.
Hmm.
So the last few episodes I've been getting that feeling as well.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna get some really good stuff in the next couple episodes too, because we're coming up on our next two-parter, which introduces like a really cool element to Blazar that I like a lot. Like, not gonna get too far into that, but a lot of
That's for the
ultras,
next few episodes.
yeah, a lot of ultras get weapons at some point, and that's just a staple of the franchise at this point too. Uh, but yeah, any final thoughts before we want to wrap this up?
No, I think we covered a pretty good of it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, with that, I will do some pretty strict editing on this one to make it work. I will
Uh,
I will catch you next time for episodes 11 and 12 of Ultraman Blazar.
bye bye.
See ya.